Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining in again for another session of some news around Africa and Zimbabwe. So today we're mostly going to focus on Zimbabwe. A report just recently got made. So it's this one right here saying that Zim applies for ISO code for ZiG. For those that have been living under a rock since April this year, well, this happened in Zimbabwe. Check it out.
It's the world's newest currency, and it's hoped the gold-backed ZiG, short for Zimbabwe Gold, will restore public confidence in local currency.
We are doing what we are doing to ensure that our local currency does not die. As I said, we were already in a situation where almost 85% of transactions are being conducted in US dollars.
Zimbabwe announced a gold-backed currency. So this story is about the newly minted Zimbabwean currency called the ZiG, which is essentially just short for Zimbabwe gold-backed currency, essentially. So the Zimbabwean gold-backed currency isn't wholly backed by gold. It's backed in part by gold, US dollars, and other foreign currencies, and including other precious metals that Zimbabwe is mining and producing in the country. So that's essentially the new monetary policy for the country, has been to create this new currency and back it to gold and other precious metals and forex. So this announcement that got made recently about Zimbabwe applying for an ISO code for the ZiG is essentially an attempt by the Zimbabwean Reserve Bank to get this new currency legitimized all over the world. So what does ISO stand for? So in case you didn't know, it just simply stands for International Organization of Standardization. So it's just a non-governmental organization that sets international standards for a wide range of things, including currency codes. And so having an ISO code puts the ZiG on the map and essentially just gives this stamp of approval as that this is a viable asset for anyone to hold and use internationally. So hence why they're doing this. I guess for all our other non-Zimbabwean viewers out there, essentially the purpose of this new currency, backing it to gold, was essentially to curb inflation and make the exchange rate more predictable on the market, on the official markets. And doing so, in theory, is to boost confidence in the value of the local currency and to foster economic growth within the country. So for some of you might already know that Zimbabwe is pretty much world famous for its crazy hyperinflation that took place over the past decade. And this is the reason why they've done this. They've tried time and time again to try and create some alternative currencies in the past, and those obviously failed, and hence this new one. They all failed for exactly the same reasons, which hyperinflation and people not being able to keep it as a store of value, and all their hard work, all the people's hard work just being inflated away. So hence why they moved to this new currency. So quickly share some snaps with you from what the RBZ, which is the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, is thinking. So before I jump into that, I guess there's been some criticisms from people in the public about how this new currency, since it's been deployed in April, how it's made its way to the market. So the common frustrations from people are to do with how it's been deployed. Essentially, most people don't seem to have access to enough of the hard cash currencies, as in the physical notes and the coins, to do regular commerce on a day-to-day basis. And it seems like the strategy so far has been just to slowly drip feed the economy of this new ZiG currency. And obviously the common frustrations are to do with that. And the reasons why these frustrations exist is obviously if there's not enough paper and coin out there for people to be able to withdraw from banks, then people won't be able to go and buy things that they need on a day-to-day basis. So that's been the common frustration. But the RBZ themselves have essentially just said that, and I quote, "According to our economic strategy, we believe that the success of our currency, the ZiG, will depend on a limited management system, maintaining a tight monetary policy stance, controlling money supply, and creating demand for the domestic currency." So right there is kind of a bit of a paradox, because yes, you are controlling the money flowing into the economy, but at the same time, how can you expect to stimulate domestic demand for the local currency when there's not enough of it out there in supply? So to me, that sounds wrong. It doesn't make sense. There's not enough currency for people to purchase things. There won't be demand for it. The other issue that the ZiG would need to also address for the people of Zimbabwe is that all the current pricing of goods and services within the country are still priced according to the US dollar. So if the RBZ insists on drip feeding this new currency to the people as a way to be tight and control how much printing they're doing of the currency, then they need to seriously review how things are priced within the country. Because if things are still priced from a US dollar perspective, then you cannot expect this very short pool of ZiG supply to satisfy the needs of buying something that's marked at a US dollar value, because then you'll start having issues of like people not being able to get enough change with the current money supply that's in place, with the current money supply that's available for people to access. So this is one critical thing they will need to do. Make sure that the prices of goods and services are appropriate for the amount of ZiG that's in supply, because otherwise people will just fall back to the US dollar, and the ZiG as an experiment will fail, just like all the other currencies have failed. So this is not something that anyone wants. I don't want this, and I'm damn sure that everyone else in Zimbabwe doesn't want this. No one wants this. We want to see a thriving Zimbabwe. We want to see a thriving economy. We want to see people thrive and people's dignity being given back to them. So please address this money supply and this pricing issue that has plagued Zimbabwe for a very long time. The current monetary policy of Zimbabwe is such that they are using multiple currencies within Zimbabwe, and the US dollar is the predominant currency that people use. So I find it hard to believe that people are going to have a demand for the ZiG over the US dollar, because if the ZiG is not in circulation, then people will turn to the nearest and most available currency, which will likely be the US dollar or the South African rand or any other currency they commonly use. So this harsh stance to drip feed people might backfire if they're not careful. But the only ways I see that the economy of Zimbabwe can finally thrive under this current monetary regime would be moving away from the multi-currency system they currently have. If they were to do that, that would definitely drive demand for the ZiG, and the ZiG being backed by tangible real-world assets can definitely hold its value and be that store of value, and get certified by this international organization, the ISO, and backing the currency to hard assets like gold and other precious metals and other foreign currencies. It's a step in a good direction. Now for me, the key thing that's missing is just abolishing this multi-currency regime that people are currently living under. That needs to go, because without that, leaving the system, there'll still be a bigger demand for other foreign currencies, which have historically been far more stable than the local currency of Zimbabwe. So in order for all this hard work they're doing to pay off, the US dollar needs to go. That needs to go. The South African rand needs to go. All other foreign currencies need to go. It just needs to be one currency, and one currency alone. Because currently, you can't drip feed people a very small amount of supply of this ZiG currency and expect them to want it more. They're not going to want it more if there's not enough of it in supply compared to what's available in terms of the South African rand or US dollar or something else. That's what I think. Those are my views on this. But some pretty bold steps they're taking to try and get international recognition, to try and do all the right things, to try and back the currency towards some hard assets, and to move away from, I guess, the previous fiat regimented regime that the whole world seems to still be living under. It's a step in a good direction. They just need to do a bit more thinking about this current multi-currency system that the country is living under, and full steam ahead. Let's see what happens. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't, as always, please subscribe. We'll see you next time.